Hey everybody, welcome back. Todd here. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I'm up here at the Northland today, and I thought I'd do a video on our wildlife management program and specifically how we've been able to develop and grow food plots in all this sandy soil up here. We've got 80 acres of forest surrounded by acres and acres and acres more forest. We're not in a farmland area. Probably the nearest crop or farmland like that to us is maybe 15 to 20 miles away. So we're really out here in the forest in northeastern Michigan. And so we've got 80 acres. We've got the cabin that sits just about in the middle of the property. Over the years, we've been able to develop a trail system so we can move throughout the property, and we've also developed some food plots. The ground up here is ridiculously sandy. If I took a spade, dug down, within about 3 turns of the shovel at most, you'd be into beach sand. So that's particularly challenging when you start looking at how to grow food plots or how to grow anything. But we've managed to put that together, and I've had a number of people ask me about what we're doing for food plots and how we're growing food plots up here in the sand. So I thought I would tackle that subject today. So come on along and I'll show you some food plots. I'll show you some of our deer blinds and kind of talk you through what we've done to develop the property to the point that it's at. So if you're interested in those kinds of things, stay with me and I'll share with you what we're doing. Okay, so before I take you on a little trip and show you around, show you the food plots, some of our hunting blinds, I just want to say this. If you're one of those guys that's a troll and wants to kind of come back and criticize me because I'm blah, 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 talking, just move on. Nobody's making you watch this. If you're truly interested in what we're doing for our program and you think by tagging along, this might give you some ideas of things that you can do, or if you're just interested in deer management and wildlife management, come on with me. But if you're just going to troll me, save it. I just don't need it. None of us need that. So keep it positive. Watch if you'd like to. I hope that you'll get something out of this. I would have appreciated somebody hit me with a video like this when I got started in this deer management program 10 years ago, but it didn't really exist. What you see is a lot of video out there, guys like Jeff Sturgis, and I'm not knocking Jeff. Jeff's a great guy. But there's a lot of guys doing stuff on food plotting and deer management. But guess what? They're all doing it in an agricultural climate. They've got farmers' fields everywhere. They're managing a patch of ground. Well, of course, when you have nothing but ag fields, you got deer everywhere. They're looking for some woods. They're predictable where they funnel and all that. When you're sitting in the middle of the forest and it's miles and miles and miles of forest, it's a game changer. It's a different deal. You don't see somebody out there talking about this kind of stuff. I'm here living it, trial and error, trying to take information from different sources, piece it together through trial and error, and get it to work for us here. So if you're in a wooded situation, if you want to know about some of the things that we've done, come on, tag along. But I don't want any blah, blah, blah stuff. Fair enough? All right. Thanks. Thanks for listening to my rant. So this is one of the trails through our property. I'm closing in on a patch of the trail that I actually planted into clover. You can see where it's starting to turn color there. That's all clover. And there's a deer blind that'll come up here on the left. The back side of it. I'm driving, so I'm doing the best I can, and we're going to be coming into the sun. But you can see everything around us is dying off, but that clover is doing a phenomenal job. That is my deer blind right there. I'll show you a little bit more about that in just a minute. Coming into a food plot. A lot of people will call these a kill plot because they're small. So, all right, I'll take you through a few things here in just a second. So I thought I would take a few minutes and just show you my deer blind. This is a blind that I built back in 2009, I think. So, you know, we're sitting 2021 now, so it's got some years on it. There used to be a bunch of big pine trees it was tucked back inside of, and over the years a number of those pines have had the pine tree blight and have gone away. But so we do a pretty good job of brushing in the blinds. So this is behind the blind, so I can get in here. Then we've maintained a buffer so that you can maintain the blind and keep it in good shape. I'll show you this a little bit more from the front side, but this is built up with 2x4s, and then we've brushed it in on the other side, but it kind of creates a little sniper's nest. Then here's my blind. Of course, you want to have the creature comforts if you're going to sit all day. So I took a lot of heat from the guys when I first built this, because it was, they dubbed it the Todd's Mahal, but it's super comfortable and it allows me to sit, you know, all day long. So got the tripod there to put my gun or my crossbow on. I've got the video tripod there so I can videotape the hunt. Kind of show you. Here's my, you can see that frame out there, that my kind of my sniper's nest brow. So I'm tucked back in here. There's my food plot. It's not that big, but remember, we're out in the middle of the forest, so there's gonna, you know, come November, late October, there's not a lot of browse left for them. So that's kind of that. Got the little buddy heater, got a shelf, keep your stuff, couple of shelves, coat rack, light. And this is where I keep my hunting clothes all season long. I don't need them until I get up here, so, and most of the time I don't need that. Again, all the creature comforts. Turkey I shot a couple of years ago right out of this window. Kind of a look back, couple of deer. Okay, let's go look at it from the other side. Give you just a little bit better look at this food plot from the other side. So I'm facing north right now. I've got the window shut and the blind now, but and I'll walk over there, but you can see that this is a Whitetail Institute's annual secret spot. It does a great job because it has like 11 different seeds or species of plant in there. And we're sitting October 1 right now. So it's clover on the trail there. You can see where I sprayed a little wide with the glyphosate, but I've overseeded that since. So, okay, let's go up a little bit closer to the blind. Okay, I will be brushing that in. I'll get some fresh pine boughs to throw on top, some more sticks underneath there leading up to the window. So, and once you've got that, you're tucked in back there, it's pretty good. Give you a little bit better look at this secret spot blend. You can see there's quite a number of different plants. And I did overseed this with winter rye several weeks back, so as time goes on, it probably will fill in a little bit with some of that winter rye. So I took you back in the woods. You can see where my blind is way back there by the Jeep. There's quite a beaten trail here. I've got a water hole that I stuck there. Up here is a mock scrape. It's being used pretty good. Show you this other side of this trail. I know it doesn't film well when it spins, but this trail right here loops right around and connects with the main trail. Here's that trail again coming to the east, and then that comes right into the food plot. There's deer tracks all over that food plot for sure. Okay, we're continuing on. It's the same trail quite a ways down. We're going to be coming up this hill. So we're at the Candy Shack, home of the Candy Man. This is the old blind back in the day. It's partially underground, not real big. Overlooking this hillside here. Once you get into November for rifle season, all this stuff dies off and it's matted down some, and through there is the new and improved deer blind. Somewhat similar to mine, only it's a little bit smaller. So the main trail comes up through here. And I've planted this hill into clover in kind of two stages. I got some of it in the spring, and that's the tall stuff. And then this fall, I went ahead and strawed I replanted it with clover. I'll kind of come in on it. Replanted it with clover, reseeded it, and then hit it with the straw because, again, being sandy ground, every time it rained, it would start washing stuff out. And surprisingly, that straw has held everything quite well. And if you look at how well that clover is coming in and the new stuff, if you look at the new stuff that we seeded this fall and how well it's doing, by next summer, this whole thing will be a nice filled in clover patch. So that'll be a perennial food source. So as we come down that hill, you can still see here's where the clover kind of dumps in. And straight back there, I filled that bump out in with clover too. That way I don't have to try to work it up. And then this again is all secret spot. And it's been overseeded a few weeks ago with winter rye. You know, I know that some of you guys are used to having food plots that are, you know, waist high with brassicas and stuff like that. This stuff is getting heavily mowed down by deer. So what you see here is what keeps regenerating after the deer are pounding it. I mean, this has all been heavily grazed, and yet that secret spot does still keep coming back. There's the deer blind. So this end of his food plot is certainly, from an archery point of view, where he's hunting. This isn't going to film well because I'm looking back into the sun, but from a rifle point of view, he's hunting multiple windows. He's hunting that front window and the other side window, so he can make a nice long rifle shot back over there. And again, once you get into cold temperatures and all this stuff kind of dies down, you can see better. Some of the leaves come off the tree or whatever, but he's got to be patient to hunt this. And you can see where they've been pawing at this. Another spot out here. Now that could just as easily be a bear. Just the last look up the hill there by the Jeep. You can see his shooting house. So now I'm standing to the far end. This would be the south end. I'm looking northeast. You can see his shooting house. Pretty good sized plot. I mean, we took a lot of trees and a lot of stumps out of here, and we did it over a period of years. Started out with just a little patch down on this end, and little by little expanded on all of these food plots. It takes time, but you know, that's what you end up with. And again, remember, we're completely in the forest, so these plots get hit hard, and they're a pretty darn good draw for deer. Okay, we're coming down another trail. We're heading west right now. Coming into another food plot. See a trail camera on that tree right there. So this is a plot that we've kind of done an experiment on. I'll explain that when I get out of the Jeep here. Okay, I'm standing with my back to the south. That's pointing northeast. You can see that muddy blind, and if you want to see a video of us building that tower blind and doing a review on it, you can go to my channel and hit the different playlists, and that's in there. So that's the blind that he hunts for archery. Here's the food plot. You see the fence out there. It's not electrified. We just went ahead and put up a fence to see if we can keep deer out of there or if they're going to jump it. So just kind of walk up on it and I'll show you what we've got going. This was put up about 2 weeks ago, and we purposely left food plot to the outside and obviously put a bunch on the inside. The theory is if you put a double fence up, the deer will see there's a fence, and certainly they can jump that, but by having that second fence in there, they can also see that they'd be landing on that thing. So I'm happy to see that 2 weeks in, it's still up, because wouldn't surprise me at all to have a bear come in here and see this as great fun, because in the past we've had a bear come in and rip these wire fences down around these 2 apple trees, but so far so good. So you can see all the way to the other end is his rifle blind. This one's got a lot of height on it. Doesn't look like it's getting eaten inside or out near as much as mine. I'm about 150 yards through the woods, by way of the crow fly. I'm on the back side of it now. I'm pointing out towards south. You can see we began to establish some clover here. Kind of ran a loop around the apple trees in a kind of a triangular pattern. Try to fill that in, so that'll be a clover, that'll be a perennial, and then the rest of this will remain an annual. We've got the 2 apple trees that are doing quite well. Then I'll show you back the other direction. Back there you can see the deer blind to the left, and then there's a red one over there. That was the old one. Since we're driving past it, I thought I'd take just a minute, show you our shooting range. Now, clearly we're not using this. I mean, actually today's the first day of archery season, so we're not hunting it. We don't want to hunt, it's 70 something degrees today. And up here in Northeastern Michigan, the rut really isn't going to start until you get into mid-October. 3rd week of October is when we start bow hunting. But so here's the facility. Got a little parking area over there. Trail comes in that way. Got a circular drive that snakes around that tree, comes back. Bench. The right side is kind of pistol side, the other side is rifle, but you can do rifle out of both. We've got an outdoor shooting platform here. For pistols, you're going at that first target. That's your 8-yard self-defense. Right there. You can see the 3D archery target sitting out there at 20 yards. Downrange, there's a 50, 75, and 100. Each of them, the 50, 75, and 100, have gongs on them and have the wire that we can put up paper targets as well. And then kind of doing a look back, hang on with me. There's a look back at the front of it. We've got, obviously that's a big removable tarped window. We've got a removable tarped window just like that for the smaller one, but in rifle season we stick that OSB in there, and you can see it's got a hatch that can come up, and we can set this up as a deer blind. There are quite a number of deer trails that crisscross that, and as a matter of fact, this used to be a hunting blind back in the day, and we've just widened it out, and you know, it's good family fun. So we're shooting down the hill, backstops at every target. Just a good family facility. The kids enjoy shooting, not just the guys, but the women. My wife likes to shoot. She's got her concealed carry. My daughter's got her concealed carry. Son-in-law has his. Most of the guys up at, I think everybody at deer camp has a concealed pistol license, so we all carry. So okay, let's continue on down the trail and find another deer blind. Food plot. So I've shown you mine, the Candyman's, Ned's. There's 3. So this is plot number 4. We're on the north end of the property now. We're probably close to a half a mile from the second blind I showed you. So we're up on the north end. Those other 3 are on the south end, or the south side. If you took center line, call that the cabin. Those other 3 are south of the cabin. We've got this one is probably the farthest north, and we're northwest corner of the property up here. And there's another one that's over, would be to the east of us here, several hundred yards. And then where I showed you the shooting range, that's a couple hundred yards south of here, southeast, kind of right in the middle. If you drew a triangle between the shooting range, this blind, and the other blind that we have on the north end, you'd have a triangle. So why all these food plots? Well, remember, deer will hang out in family groups, and this is a perfect example this year. We've got a lot of trail cams all over the property, and we've got a really good group of bachelor bucks running around here this year, but we've also got a dominant female that has twins every year. So she's got her this year twins, and last year twins are still hanging around. So that family group is in here, and if you've only got 1 or 2 food sources or food plots, those does are going to run those bucks off. Because we've got multiple places, we can have multiple family groups as well as a bachelor buck group running around. Now again, we didn't create a doe factory here. We have very little perennial food sources other than those small clover patches, which frankly, they don't seem to eat much of that clover until it starts getting into September. Now they've been hitting that clover hard over the last 3-4 weeks, but there's still enough browse in the woods that they're not overgrazing it. And this year we did something different. In our area, it says for planting, we could plant August 1st. And I've always planted that first week of August in the past, and they've just eaten us out of house and home. This year, I waited to the end of August, and we didn't really get a planting in until just about the very end of August or beginning of September. And it's probably a good thing, because if I'd have planted in August, we ended up having quite a drought. So it's worked out beautifully for the rain that we've gotten and unseasonably warm temperatures just recently. It's really expanding or extending our growing season, and it's really helping us out. We've been getting good rain in the fall, and so I think that's as much as anything on this sandy ground is managing your timeline, and you got to play around with it. And I'm telling you, if you are in Northeastern Michigan or Northern Michigan, yeah, you can plant August 1st, but if you're doing an annual, I don't think you should do that. I think you better wait till towards the end of August to plant and hope you're going to get the rain and what have you to germinate. So yeah, so we've got the multiple different food sources, but that's working out pretty good for us. And each year we've been expanding the footprint of many of these food plots. So we'll take out some more brush, we'll take out some more trees, a few more stumps, and little by little we're gaining ground so that we're not getting as overgrazed as we once were. So let me show you this food plot, and this is the one that gets hammered the most. So I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. Come on. Here's the deer blind. This is to the east of the food plot. So this is me facing the front of the food plot, facing east right now. Let me reverse it and swing around. Okay, this is me with my back to the front of the deer blind, and I'm facing west right now. Then that's north. Now I attempted to get some clover out here in the spring. I planted it and just didn't germinate, just didn't get what we needed. And you can see, it hasn't done particularly well on the front end here this fall either. Now this end of it is some newly claimed ground just last year, and I did soil samples on everything, but I will say I think I'm going to have to hit this with a lot more lime in the off season. But I'm going to plant this front end here into clover next spring. And the reason we want that is because once you get into autumn, a lot of this food source might get really nibbled down to nothing. And that clover seems to be a big time draw for the deer. With his blind right behind me, this clover up here in the front will give us a good archery shot. That's too long out there. And you can see in the center where it's super green, that's kind of the site of the original food plot. It's pretty good open. You got all those popples. And of course, they love to eat those poplar leaves, but that's all coming down for sure here in just a few weeks. Now I'm towards the other end. I'm still facing kind of southwest here. But where you see all this dead grass, this was all newly claimed ground this spring. We took out a lot of stumps in here, probably 5, 6, 7 stumps. I ended up throwing some topsoil down. We bought topsoil and spread it amongst here, and then just hit this end of it hard with glyphosate, aka Roundup. Killed it off good. That grass will deteriorate over time and go back into the soil, and then that'll give us a good starting point in the spring. And here again, we'd like to put this end of it into clover. So if we put both ends of the food plot into clover with that center into an annual, it gives us a real nice opportunity that come December for muzzle loading season and what have you, that clover stays green up here. It's a special blend that we've got, and I've stumbled across it after years of trying other stuff, and It's phenomenal for our climate. And so if we put both ends of this into clover with an annual up the middle, both rifle season, muzzleloader season, and even you know, the other end of it up closer to the blind, gives him a good archery shot. There's a wire over there. We're real close to the neighboring property. That's all scrub ground in there. Really doesn't get any hunting pressure by the neighbors. We're fortunate that way. And the one thing that I do want to do is plant a bunch of evergreens along that wire and create a bedding source right in here up close to the food plot. I mean, we're not in an area where we have to create bedding ground. There's so much blowdown. I mean, remember, we're sitting on a 1/4 mile by 1/2 mile patch of woods. And it's predominantly popple groves, evergreen trees. There's a big cedar swamp in there, and you know, there's a lot of cherry also. But and there are quite a few oak trees as well, but we don't get much of a bumper crop of acorns because our climate doesn't seem to do it, and there's not much nutrients in the ground. We've even fertilized identified and fertilized a lot of our oak trees. Now we're only 2 or 3 years into that, but that's another part of the project that we're working on. Okay, this is food plot number 5. I've got a video, I think, on this one claiming the whole thing. Certainly the expansion that I did on it. The back part down there where I'm facing north and a smidge east, all that down at the other end is brand new this year. And, you know, previous to that, it looked like that. So you can see we still have some stumps that we'll pull here. We chip away at those stumps, just a few a year. Let them die out. They become easier 5 years down the line. But here's again, that clover. That's a couple of years old there. There's clover in here. This got planted in the spring, and then I overseeded it again this fall. There's a ton of weeds in there that I'll concentrate on next spring. I'll hit it with some herbicide and kill everything but the clover, and I'll be doing some hand weeding in there too on some of those sagebrush. Just easier to pull that crap out by the roots. But so you can see we got a brush pile here, and then let me step back, get out of the sun, swing it. Raised hunting blind here, 7.5 foot to the deck. It is 8 by 12. It's a 2-person hunting blind. Gives us a chance to introduce the young kids to hunting. Matter of fact, my grandson, 9 years old, was able to shoot his first deer out of that blind just a few weeks ago in this year's 2021 youth hunt. So again, we're doing a combination of perennial clover and annual. And again, this is a lot of that Whitetail Institute secret spot, and it's been overseeded with winter rye, and it's looking good. You know, again, today is first day of archery season. We'll start picking up the bows in about 3 weeks when the rut starts getting closer, and that way we're not spooking deer. They're used to me running around the property, so stuff like this today isn't going to bother them at all. But so, you know, that's what we're doing for our food plots. It's been a journey, you know, to get this much ground cleared, to get stuff growing. I mean, we've put a lot of money into lime and nitrogen and fertilizer and building our soils, you know. So I don't know if any of this is going to help you for your program, but I appreciate you tagging along. Do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps me out. Share it with your friends if you think they'd be interested in what we're doing to develop the property, if they might be able to get an idea or two, and hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so that you'll know when I upload another video. And check out some of my other videos in the playlist. Again, thanks a lot. See you on the next one.